Hey, good evening. It's Thursday, March 20th. Welcome back to Everyday Talk 24/7. The first day of spring. It's just great to be with you today. Last night we talked about discipline and how discipline we need to distinguish between the discipline, loving discipline that God gives us and the wrath of God, the displeasure of God. We need not to confuse those things. God's discipline is a good, positive thing. We looked at that in the context of Hebrews 12. Well, one of our viewers, a really good friend of mine, Kathy, asked this follow-up question, which I love that she did that, and always appreciate your comments and feedback. And pretty soon I'll get back to doing Q&A Fridays, so I need to get back on that track. But this is a question that would be a typical Q&A Friday question. Kathy writes, as it relates to God's discipline, is it important that I distinguish from the consequence of my sin? For example, if I watch TV instead of preparing for a presentation at work, and the presentation is a disaster, would I say that's God's discipline? And in the case of a trial that is not connected to a sin I've committed, is it important to distinguish God's discipline from the result of living in a fallen world? For example, if I lose my job or get arthritis, do I need to seek to determine if it's God's discipline or the result of living in a fallen world, life in a fallen world? Again, Kathy, thank you so much for interacting and laying things out, because I'm sure that many folks have the same questions that you do. Let's get a biblical view to start. Let's get a biblical view of discipline. Discipline is designed to draw us into a closer relationship with God, with Christ. And in Hebrews 12, verses 5 and 6, the author of Hebrews quotes the Proverbs, chapter 3, verses 11 and 12. My son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines the ones he loves, as he chastens everyone he accepts as a son. Remember the context we were looking at earlier. God got to view everything through Psalm 103 in that lens. God doesn't treat me as my sins deserve. He's always treating me in love and compassion as a father cares for his children. So discipline functions in two ways. And the word for discipline here is paideia. It's the Greek word paideia. Positively, it means training, instruction, and guidance. So those aren't negative. Those are just things that we would do with our children when we're trying to teach someone. We want them to understand that. Negatively, or remedially, in the sense of discipline serves as a reproof, a correction, and punishment. So there's two sides to discipline. There's this positive preparatory side, and then there is this remedial side, which has more to do with the reproof, correction, and punishment. We tend to think discipline primarily in this negative light, in this corrective light, but we need both elements, because there is this positive positive preparatory side that we've got to delve into. Discipline draws us to Christ, as I said. For example, the purpose of the law, Galatians 3:24, it leads us by the hand as a guardian. Well, the word for guardian there is out of that root word of paideia, for discipline. And then Ephesians 6:4, we talk about children, fathers raise your children up. And the paideia, the discipline of the Lord. So that's the word that's used here. So, Kathy, let me break down your questions then specifically. As it relates to God's discipline, is it important that I distinguish from the consequence of my sin? Now, if I watch TV instead of doing my work for the presentation and it messes up, what do I do with that? That's an example of God's loving, remedial, corrective discipline. If God is not going to sit there absently and let us do whatever we want. He is a faithful, loving Father. And as such, he's going to administer discipline, not to scold us or to uh, show us his wrath, but to correct us, to draw us back. Remember what the Proverbs say: the wise person, the wise woman, the wise child, the wise man loves a rebuke. Because we know that God is doing this for us. So the example here, this is a remedial sense. And so it's God's discipline pulling us back to where we need to be, and we need to see it that way. Then the second example that Kathy raises, say in the case of a trial that's not connected to a sin that I've committed, is it important to distinguish God's discipline from the results of living in a fallen world? Maybe I lose my job, I get arthritis. Do I need to seek to determine if it's God's discipline or being in a fallen world? Again, Kathy, this is a situation where, remember, nothing is random. God is sovereign. He uses all these things to cause us to draw closer to him and trust him. So this is an example of God's preparatory discipline. When we have these kinds of difficulties, hard things in life, arthritis is a hard thing, job loss, other difficulties that we face, these are things that God is doing. He is teaching us, training us, guiding us in growth and towards a deeper relationship with him. He wants us to take comfort in him. I love Psalm 46 in this regard, the opening of the psalm. It says, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Though its waters roar and foam, the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose stream makes glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is with her. She will not fall. God will help her at the break of day. See, that's God working within us, helping us. Remember Psalm 23. God is there with us in the dark valley of the shadow of death, comforting us, drawing us close to him. Those are all the consequences of this fallen world, but it's also, since God is powerful, since we know in Romans 8:28 and other passages, nothing is random. God is working everything together for our good, even these hard things. So God's discipline is not absent from any of these things. So even the particular consequences, each of us face a different portion, if you will, of the fallenness of this world. If we lived in certain places in the world where there is horrible persecution of Christians right now, we could even view this as a part of God's loving discipline, causing us to lean and cling closer to him. So Kathy, I hope that helps. This discipline is a wide-ranging thing. It shows God's faithful covenant commitment to us. He's not going to let us go. He's going to prepare us for the hard things that are coming so we can be close to him, so we can be trained and ready for action and bring honor to his name. Or he's going to bring reproof and correction to bring us back to where we should be in trusting him. So this thing of God's discipline, it's a beautiful, powerful thing. So as Solomon says, don't make light of his discipline. Don't lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as a son. All these things are God caring for us, being a faithful, loving Father. I hope that helps. Again, please give me some feedback on this. Kathy, thank you so much for bringing this question, and always love to hear those things. And you have a great night. Bye-bye.